have a bunch of people already watching on Facebook. We have about 17 people logged on already. And a nice group, 13 people of us over here on Zoom. So I think we're ready to begin. Is it okay if I close the door? I had to find a quiet corner. So I'm sorry about the background. You have all my scarves. You have my scarf here. But and honestly, I don't wear scarves every day, but I felt every time I see Elisheva, I'm re-inspired to like rock the scarf thing. So it's something about the energy of Tzfat, and if you've been there, you understand what I'm talking about. But I actually have on all my Tzfat today. I have my water, the crystals, the water crystals.
Water crystals. I have them on also. Wow.
That's right. And I have my earrings. So this is like trademark to Tzfat. You buy them at the mikveh. And for those of you that have met Elisheva at the mikveh in Tzfat, I kind of feel she needs no introduction. She's kind of like Madonna. Like, it's just like Elisheva, you know, like I didn't even know your last name for so many years. I'm like, she has a last name? Like, that's crazy. It's just like Elisheva. Everyone knows Elisheva. But for those of you that are meeting Elisheva for the first time, you're in for a treat, because Elisheva is, I think her title is like, she's the educational director of the Tzfat Mikveh. And she takes thousands and thousands of women, men, and college students. Do you take teenagers also? I mean, you just do so much education.
It's amazing. Yeah, we work with college, with high school kids and all ages. Sure, it's amazing.
Wow. I mean, give me a number. How many people have you walked through your mikveh tour?
It looks like over the past 10 years, we've had over 40,000 participants. Wow. That is insane. It's been totally amazing. Blessed and beyond our dreams. Yeah, incredible. Wow.
And Elisheva, I just know, and I know this personally, that, you know, when people come through your Tzfat mikveh experience, they leave changed. They really do. I mean, I had been observing the practice, the mitzvah of mikveh observance my whole married life. I mean, I'm already married for 19 years. We celebrated our anniversary last week. But when I met you, how many years ago? When did you start with Momentum? Was it 7 years?
Yeah, like 7 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met you in the beginning when you first started, and it blew me away. I mean, it blew the women away. I remember when I met Elisheva the first time. I'll just tell you a funny joke. I hope I don't embarrass you, Elisheva.
Oh, come on. You promised me you wouldn't. Okay.
It's so cute. It's so cute. I was with this very American woman. Let's just call her like very typical American, like has never been to Tzfat before, was like, where are we? What is going on? These ladies are floating. Like their bodies are literally just holding down their souls. They're just so holy, all of them with their scarves, and they're like layered, and they're just like so flowy. And she says to me, so she's watching Elisheva do her thing, and she pulls me aside and she whispers in my ear, she's like, Eve, do you think she does Botox? I'm like, I don't even know if she knows what Botox is. But what she was saying, Elisheva, was that she's so happy. Like, does she really have 8 children? Or I don't know, you have 9 now, Kanai, right? Baruch Hashem. Yeah. She's like, is she like, she's like ageless. Like she looks like she's 20 years old. Okay, but there's the reason I'm embarrassing you like this is that there's something there's something we all feel when we're in your space. It is the place, it is Tzfat and the mysticism of the city. It is being in a mikveh, a holy place where such transformation happens for so many. But there's also this happiness, this joy, this outburst that makes you just look timeless or just so beautiful, so young. It's beyond physical beauty. It's coming from deep, deep within. So anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop here. I love Elisheva. Elisheva has really changed my life. I'm sure you've changed so many thousands, tens of thousands of lives. But personally, like coming into the mikveh and kind of giving myself a reboost to my observance of mikveh and relationships and intimacy. has really enhanced my life, my marriage, and also my teachings. Because I am a kala teacher, I am a mikvah attendant here in Portland. This is such a beautiful part of the work that I do, and you have had a very big part in giving me like a bit of a boost. So thank you, and so nice to be here with so many people watching on Facebook and on Zoom, and I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you, Eve.
Yes,
thank you for organizing this. Thank you for your vision, and thank you for you. You're like my soul sister.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so that's enough of an introduction. Before we actually get started, and people are actually still logging on, so this is kind of nice. It's nice that we get to chat a little bit. So I'd like to just talk by saying, hi, how are you? I'm in my basement, in my little nook and cranny, as you could see, and hoping that I won't be too disturbed, because there is supper and bedtime going on upstairs. And honestly, like, you're in the morning, 6 a.m. Here we are in different time zones. We have Australia here with us. We have women from all over, all different time zones, East Coast, West Coast, Israel, Australia, who knows where else people are. I know that we have some Canadians here.
Amazing.
And time, let's talk about time just for a second, because I kind of feel like time is very different these days, right?
Right. Definitely.
It's hard to even grasp. Sometimes it feels like time is going by much quicker. And sometimes it just feels like it's just so slow, like, when are we going to get out of this, move on with the next, like, when is this just going to be over with and we could get back to our regular programming as usual.
I feel like also there's the sense of time is kind of like melted away or kind of evaporated, because like, even I was joking with my husband the other day, we had a whole argument in our house what day of the week it was. Literally, it was like, my son was like, I think it's Monday, and I was like, no, it's Tuesday, and my husband was like, it's Wednesday. I'm like, hello guys, it's Thursday. It's like, everyone, it's like, we have absolutely no sense of time. And it's like, crazy. I feel like time anchors us and really gives us a sense of presence. And in Hebrew, what's fascinating about the Hebrew language is that time is zman. The word for time is zman, zayin mem nun, and it also is the same word. This is fascinating, for an invitation. Zman and hazmana. You hear the word hazmana, like you're invited. So like, every point in time is an invitation to like go a little bit deeper, to access the divine of that moment. It's like every moment in time is an invitation, as opposed to like, okay, whatever, where are we in this? Like, is it Monday? Is it Sunday? Where is it? But it's an invitation, which is very anchoring.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I'm joking with my husband that these days it feels like there's only 2 days of the week. There's all the days of the week, and then there's Shabbat, which is a little bit different. And it does make us, it is that invitation to have, a change of pace. Last week, I actually, I didn't know what day it was, and I forgot to put out the garbage, which is a really big deal in Portland, because they only come once every 2 weeks to take out your garbage, right? And we're a big family, so we fill up fast. And I had to call them and pay them to come back. I'm like, please come back. I didn't know what day it was. So yes, we're a little bit all over the place. And something I'm seeing, go for it.
Something tells me that you're not alone, right? Okay. Who here feels the same way? You can raise your hand. Like, we're all in the same boat, Eve, right? Totally.
So what I'm seeing is a lot of there's 2 ways of counting time. There's like, oh my gosh, I think this is 11 weeks in quarantine, like 68 days and counting, or whatever. I don't even know how many days it's been. And you see people like posting on Facebook, just like, this is just so long. Like, there's time that could be counted without meaning. And then there's time that could be used to grow. And that's actually the time period that we're in right now with Sfirat HaOmer. So from Passover, second day of Passover, we start counting until Shavuot, which is literally on Thursday night. Okay, so it's around the corner. And we're counting up these 49 days, 7 full weeks. It says in Parshat, is it
Emor?
Emor.
Emor.
Parshat Emor. V'sefartem lachem Sheva Shabbatot Mimot, that you should count for yourselves 7 full, complete weeks. And that's what we're counting. And it's not just counting like, oh, here we are again. It's not like that. We're counting up towards something very powerful. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this power of 7 tonight. And I can't wait to really, really dig deep with you. I want to hear a little bit from you. You wanted to take us through this journey, where we're coming from. We came out of Mitzrayim. We were going through the Midbar. We're coming up towards Mount Sinai, getting ready to receive the Torah. So Elisheva, take us, where are we really spiritually right now in this time?
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Eve. Yours is so amazing.
And by the way, Elisheva, if you have like background noise and kids and all that, it just makes us feel very much at home. So it's okay. We're all in this together.
Totally. Amazing. It's so beautiful to see familiar faces, Alyssa and all these beautiful, Jillian. Beautiful. So yeah, it's so fascinating what you're saying. I love what you're saying, because these days are, on one hand, we feel that we have no sense of control, and we're in quarantine. We're like, it's such a unsettling place to be, an unprecedented place to be in. But on the other hand, we know that Jewish time is not linear. Jewish time is cyclical. So what does that mean? It means that what I'm experiencing today, these days that I'm experiencing, and that we're about to, here in Israel, and tomorrow night, we're going to be experiencing the Matan Torah, which is the receiving of the Torah, the giving of the Torah. It's not commemorating something that happened over 3,332 years ago. It's actually happening now. So in Jewish time is the cyclical sense of what happened thousands of years ago. Again, as opposed to linear, which means there's the past and the future, and they're so far away from each other. In Judaism, it's thousands of years, so we're so far back. No, in Judaism, it goes around in a circle. So I'm coming spiraling upwards, each time meeting me where I am right now, 2020, in quarantine, in my home, or wherever's going on, homeschooling, whatever's happening, right here and now, which is different where I was last year, where I was like 5 years ago, where I was 30 years ago, and where we were, hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago. We're spiraling around, and we're tapping into that energy right here and now. So where are we right now in time? We're actually here in Israel, I think you also counted 48th day of Omer, which means that we have left Egypt 48 days ago, which means according to Kabbalah, according to more like we say, like to go a little bit deeper, to like beneath the surface. So if we look a little bit deeper, we understand that we left Egypt. Now, Egypt isn't just something, again, that happened thousands of years ago. Egypt, according to Kabbalah, according to Jewish mysticism, as a lot of us I'm sure are familiar with, is actually the constricted state of consciousness that we all have, meaning any parts of myself that is defined in an external way, that is defined by others, as opposed to my inner core soul essence. That's a state of Egypt in me. For example, my need for approval from others, my jealousy, my anger, my sadness, all of those midot, all of those character traits that are they're not me. They're not the essential core spiritual essence of who I am. That's called Mitzrayim. So during these days, okay, we left Mitzrayim, we had the Seder 48 days ago, but no. We're counting these 48 days. That means every single day, now listen very closely, I left a part of Egypt that's in me. Meaning we left Egypt 48 days ago, but has the Egypt, Mitzrayim, left me? Is there an outer shell? Am I living like my outer shell, the klipa, according to Kabbalah, which we say, those of us who are counting Sphira, we say, Litaharenu miklipatenu, like the outer part of me. Am I living the outer, the external part of me that always looking for validation from others? Or am I living my core essence self? You know what I'm saying? So that's like that we have left Egypt, but has the Egypt left us? And we only have like another day to work on unpeeling, unmasking all of those layers, those outer layers, to really access the real me in order to receive the Torah. You know what I'm saying? Do you get that, Eve? Is that like crazy way out?
I mean, it's so crazy if you think about it. At the Passover Seder, that's kind of what we say. We say everyone is obligated to see themselves as if they're leaving Egypt. But that's really only the beginning. That's seeing, right? It's kind of like knowing what you need to do, and then you need to actually do it. So this process is taking us somewhere. And I feel like it always comes down to relationships. Like it's all a relationship, right? And I feel like in Judaism, you know, you could say Judaism is a religion, but really, really ultimately, Judaism is just a relationship between us and our Creator. So how is this connected to a relationship? You know, the holiday of Shavuot is known to be kind of like this renewing of vows, so to speak. And I don't know if you've ever done that, Elisheva. You've had crazy experiences in your life. Have you ever been with someone, or you yourself, have you ever had a renewing of vows?
Although my son is about to go to school, so I'm just
okay.
Do you want to say hi to everybody? No. That's okay. Sorry. He goes super early. Bye, sweetie.
That's early.
Of course. תסתכל בתיק שלי ותראה אני שם פה כסף, אם לא, אז אני אביא לך שאני הגעתי ילדים. בסדר מותק? Sorry.
So sweet. Have a good day.
Bye, sweetheart. Yeah, he's amazing. He gets up super early and he's out. Oh yeah, by the way, we started school here in Israel. Well, some of us started
amazing.
School.
That's hopeful for us. It's not happening this year.
Yeah.
Wow, everyone should be well.
Amazing. They're starting just a few hours and just in separate classrooms and really spread out. But I took my 4-year-old preschool daughter to school the other day, and she looked out in the world and she said, Ima, ese olam yafe. Like, Mom, it's such a gorgeous world outside.
Oh, that's
Mom,
so amazing.
Such a beautiful world outside. Like, wow.
That's so precious.
A gorgeous world. Bye, sweetie. Okay, bye, Hamuda. And it's bye, sorry. Yeah. So
I wanted to talk about this renewing of vows for a minute, just like what Shavuot really is. But have you ever seen or experienced someone renewing their vows, like after 25 years of marriage, or have you ever seen it?
Have you? I feel like you have.
I have. It's funny. I'm not going to say who, because she might be watching. Actually, I mean, she'd chuckle if she heard this. I'll actually text her right afterwards to tell her that I was speaking about it. But I was thinking about the renewing of vows. I was thinking when I was living in Denver, there was this incredible family. And it was a wedding anniversary. It must have been like a 50th wedding anniversary for the parents, right?
Wow.
For like the senior mother, father. And all of their married kids, all their kids are married. They have 3 kids, 2 girls, 1 boy. They all came together in like this, you know, out of the city, country, you know, place. And they asked my husband and I to come and to renew their vows.
Oh my God.
It was at first I was kind of, I had never heard of such a thing. I was kind of like, what is this going to be like? It was so meaningful. It was emotional. Wow. They all chose in again, like after so much water under the bridge, you know, to look at your partner and say like, I would choose you again. So that's kind of what Shavuot really is, right? It's like this renewing of vows. And I'll just read you, this is kind of like the book that comes with me everywhere, the Book of Our Heritage, right, by Eliyahu Kitov. So he actually speaks about, you know, this month, the month of Sivan, as being the month for unity and love and peace and harmony and all those good things. But then he says that this is a prerequisite to really receiving the Torah. The Torah is referred to as a heritage, morasha, which is written in the book of Devarim. Our sages expanded on that, and they say, do not read the word as morasha, heritage, but me'orasa, betrothed. Yes.
Right. Gorgeous.
Yeah. So this is really the month of our engagement. And then when we receive the Torah, it's like the chuppah. I mean, we are really renewing our vows as a people right now between us and God. So I want to get into some of the good stuff, Elisheva.
I love that. And I have to say that, the word, like the Hebrew language is so rich, and the actual word for a vow in Hebrew is Shavuot, right. Which is an oath. Shavuot means literally the vow, the oath. Right. That we're all renewing right here and now. Again, it happened thousands of years ago. It's happening right now. It's
so
awesome,
the literal, right? just to know that there's like surface level and then there's deeper. So the surface level, I mean, my whole life I thought Shavuot means weeks because we're counting 7 weeks. It's right. Exactly. But here we go. There's a double meaning here. There's something deeper. There's a promise. There's an oath that's happening. So thank you for taking us deeper there. Okay, so this oath. So I want to talk about intimacy, because really, really, like if you think of like the wedding ceremony and you think about the chuppah and then the cheder hayichud, the room of seclusion where the bride and groom go for the first time as a married couple, right? There's so much intimacy there. And in our holidays, there should be this connection between us and God that is very, very powerful. So I love your quote about intimacy. You say intimacy is into me, like see me, right? Which is really like going deeper, right? To really know somebody. Exactly. So tell us a little bit more right now about this intimate relationship of Shavuot, of husband and wife, of our relationships.
I love what you said. It's so true, that feeling of betrothal, of engagement, mu'urasa, to be engaged, which is to have like an excitement and anticipation of building up to that final beautiful enmeshing and kind of merging with the other. So a few ideas that you talked about that I love what you said. I'm going to just expand on it a little bit. Meaning, what I love about these holidays, and specifically Shavuot, is that we say in the liturgy, in the prayer, we say this actually every day. I just said this before I got on. We say, thank you, God, Baruch Hashem, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. You have chosen us from all the other nations, and you have given us the Torah. Meaning the idea of being chosen, the idea of from all the other nations in the entire universe. God, it's such an intimate moment where God like says, I could be with all these people. I can have this intimate connection, which is really like a revelation of my inner will, which is what the Torah is about. We'll talk about that in a second. And I'm choosing you to be chosen exclusively. And to have this unique connection with God is amazing. It's such a beautiful idea. I mean, that's exactly what it's about. Meaning, like when you chose to marry your husband, or those of us out there who are married or have been in an exclusive relationship, in a deep relationship, you're like, I could have been with all this and this and this and this and this and this with all these other people, right? That's kind of why we walk around. Those of us who have this custom to walk around, right? I know Eve, you shared with me that you walked around. It's an Ashkenazi custom, but sometimes also Sephardim do, is walking around your husband, because you're saying, under the chuppah, under the wedding canopy, because you're saying, I'm making a wall around the outer wall, and now you have chosen me and I'm choosing you. It's a mutual reciprocal choosing of each other. Asher bachar banu. And what I love about this idea is that if we look at the 10 Commandments, I don't know if we'll have time to talk about that in a little bit, is that the first of the 10 Commandments is Anochi Hashem. I am the Lord your God. And the last of the 10 Commandments is Lo tachmod eshet recha. You shall not covet or desire I'm sorry, I have to sign my son's paper here. Hold on.
I love this. I feel like I'm almost in Israel. I love it.
So in Israel, we have from like Misrad HaBriut, from the Ministry of Health, we have to sign every day. This is every day I have to take my son's temperature, which I'm doing right now. Okay, you don't have fever. No, I took his temperature earlier, and we have to make sure that he doesn't have fever and he doesn't have any signs. And then I sign it and I check off that he's healthy. Baruch Hashem. And it always, I try to sign it also with an intention. Baruch Hashem. Thank you, God. He's happy. Baruch Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. ותסגור את הדלת שאתה יוצא. 20 שקל, אני אביא איתו. בסדר. It's like, I'm like the ATM. They just need money. Okay. תסגור את הדלת, ואני אחת גם. בסדר? אני אביא כסף עם הילדים.
You know, Elisheva, when we come to the mikvah, we don't get to see you in action with your kids. So this is really exciting. This is great.
Life, we're all, again, we're all in this together. So what was my last sentence? Because in my old age, my train of thought, where were we?
So we were talking about relationships, about renewing the vows, the power of that. Right. And now I want to ask you a little bit.
Yeah. So just let's thought about the 10 Dibrot. So we have something that's called, when I studied in college, we learned what's called a chiastic structure, or like a mirroring structure, when like A, B, C, D, E, we have the 10 commandments. So we have the first 5, which is between man and God, and on the second side, between man and fellow man, bin Adam lechavero, and between man and God, those 2 sets of 5. So the first of the 10 commandments is, I am your God. And the last of the 10 commandments is, don't be jealous or don't covet somebody else's wife. So according to chiastic structure, or like the mirroring structure, A and A, meaning it's A, B, C, D, E, and then E, D, C, B, A. So A and A are connected. If anyone follow that? Is that, how does not coveting someone else's wife, how does that connect, mirror, I am the Lord your God? So it's actually the same idea, meaning the idea of like monotheism, that we only have one God. We don't choose the other gods, not the God of money, not the God of fame and fortune, not the God of like all the other gods that we have, right? And the dollar bill and God we trust. No, we don't trust in this, right? Especially now with the financial instability that we're all in. So I am the Lord your God. I chose you, you chose me. We have a mutual, reciprocal, one-on-one relationship. There's no one else. There's nothing else. And there's nothing else. It's just you and me. And also in a relationship, so you choose your husband. As I said, your husband chooses you. There's nothing else. Don't be jealous. Don't look at other women, right? Don't look at other men. Don't covet something. It's not yours. Intimacy is this intimate relationship. There's nothing else in the world but you. There's no one else in the world that I want to be more close to. There's no one else that I want to know. To be intimate is to deeply know the other in the deepest sense. To know and to be known, as it says in Genesis, like Eve and Adam knew each other. To know each other is to become one. The borders of who I am and who you are just kind of melt away. So I love that idea that, in a sense, like our renewal of vows in the marriage sense, right, is also about connecting. It's like interconnected, our connection with God and our connection with in our marriages and our connections with, it's all one. It's all around the same idea.
So amazing. Beautiful. Thank you. So I just want to go back to our topic. Yeah. Okay. Our topic, right. Our title was the power of 7. And, there are many numbers in Judaism that are very significant, but 7 happens to be one that there's a lot of 7s, and help me here. Feel free to shout any out, but you already mentioned one. You mentioned the circling under the chuppah, where the bride will circle the groom 7 times. So I remember like losing track. It was like, I was like looking up, like, do I have another one? One more, 2 more.
I was like counting under them up. I was like, 1, 2, 3. I actually went around the wrong way. In my chuppah, we have this on video. I started going around this way. It's like typical Elisheva. I was going around this way, and then I like made around, and he's like, that way. So I'm like, woo! That way. Crazy.
I didn't know there was one way, but and we also spoke about the 7 weeks that we're in right now, the Sfirat HaOmer, these 7 weeks to count. We know, the most powerful example of 7 is probably the 7 days of creation, right? The 7th day of the week is Shabbat, which is the crown of creation. So, right, I mean, there's so much. We know that we have the concept of the sabbatical year, the Shemitah, right? Every 7 years, you need to leave the land to be fallow. There's so much. And also just the number 7 in itself, it's a physical number. It represents the physical, really, because everything above it represents something above and beyond what we could understand. So those are just some of the sevens, the significant sevens in Judaism. But now I want you to take it a little deeper, which you're so good at doing, because I want to hear what are the significant spiritual, meanings in the number 7. And I just know, I mean, it's interesting. I never thought of it until this moment, but as a Sephardic woman, when I immerse in the mikveh, my custom is to immerse 7 times. I know that Ashkenazim do 3, but I never thought about it. And And I'm also thinking, I'm pretty sure that there are 7 steps that lead down into the mikveh waters. I never thought about it really so intensely, but what are the reasons for this? And what is the mystical understandings of this number 7?
Amazing. So funny you should ask, right? Awesome. So it's going to tie back into what we started talking about, intimacy. We're going to see that it's all going to really tie in. So there's a few ideas. We'll make some seder here. So like you said, the 7 is the number for natural order. So when you think about it, we have the 7. We have also the 7 skies. We have the 7 music notes in a chord. There's also 7 colors in a rainbow. 7 is huge. 7 is huge. And we say in Hebrew, Kol hashvi'in chavivin. All the 7s are endeared, are special, are loved. Kol hashvi'in chavivin. There's something about 7 that's also an invitation for something deeper. We're gonna talk about what that is. So what's interesting about 7 is, like, what is the first time that we see 7 in Genesis? We see it in the context of Shabbat, of the week, the Jewish week. Now, this is fascinating. If you think about it, I never thought about this before. We talked about time in the beginning, right? Every other concept of time, we have a day, we have an hour, we have a minute, we have a day. We have a month, we have a year. All the concepts of time, most of our concepts of time, especially the bigger ones, are created by either the sun or the moon, or some kind of like astronomical phenomenon. But here, when we have a week, how do we get to the week? And that seems to be a universally accepted concept, that we have 7 days in a week. I think Napoleon tried to make a 9-day week or a 10-day week, and it just didn't work. There's something built into our DNA that we need, that the cycle of 7 days is a part of how we can experience this world. So what is it? What is it about these 7 days? What is it? So if we look back, we see that it was God, that it's a divinely ordained system that subtly by experiencing this concept of 7, we're touching on the fact that God himself, right? The presence of God is in the 7, because God said that there's a 7-day week. And it's even though people might not believe in God, or might not believe in the revelation of God, or not believe in the Torah, but it seems to be universally accepted. And it seems to be one of the only kind of spiritually concepts. Nobody thought of it that way, that the idea of a week, even just go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that we go in cycles of weeks, that we start again, we end, and we start again in cycles of 7, that obviously also connect to Shabbat, the full process. 7 connects us to a full process. So that is divine, meaning we're subtly very gently acknowledging that there is a divine presence in this world when we acknowledge 7. And that's Shabbat. So that's one idea. And that's also the Shabbat.
I just want to stop you for 1 second. Yeah. But, it's so true, especially in this time, how we're really holding on so tight right now to Shabbat, because it's kind of pulling us through this endless weeks. But I kind of feel like it's the pause, it's the experience, it's like the permission to stop.
Exactly.
In the week it's a very different, and that permission, that pause is actually what rejuvenates us. There's power in it that I don't even think we understand how important it is for us to kind of get off the treadmill, so to speak, just stop running and start being.
Love it.
We'll have another talk on Shabbat.
Love that, because that's exactly the second point that I was going to say, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The power of 7 connects us to that pause, connects us to what we know is Shemitah, which is the resting of the land. It connects us to the Jubilee, which is the cycle of 7 also, which is the resting of our possessions. It connects us to Shabbat. So the resting in time, the resting in space, the holiness in time, holiness in space, to pause and ponder. And if they say the 3 P's, pause, ponder, and pray, to kind of stop and get off, like you said, the treadmill, exactly, and all that. And that's what 7 does in time and space and in person. It's holiness. And according to Kabbalah, it talks about the idea of returning to the source. We let the land pause because we want it to rejuvenate and return to its source of life. We want, as people, we pause and stop so that we can return to our source, to our creator. And also here, we're counting those cycles of 7, unpeeling all those layers, 7 times 7, which is like the most powerful expression of what 7 is, because it's time by itself. And here we're returning to ourselves. We're returning to who we are, unpeeling and unmasking. And now the last idea is this amazing Kabbalistic concept. It's brought down in the Kabbalah, and I know it from this book, Living in Divine Space by Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg. He brings us this amazing idea, and you kind of touched upon it, is that we have 6, in the physical world, we live in 6, we have 6 directions. We have, like, let's say we take a cube, up, down, side, back, front, back, and the 2 sides, right? We have 6 dimensions in a cube. Or we take like the four directions, north, south, east, west, and up and down. That's how we live in the physical world. But guess what? 7 goes inside. This is what the Kabbalah teaches us. It's the inner dimension that brings it all together. It's the inner point in the cube that brings all the 7 points, all the 6 points around it together. 7 is the inner dimension. So that's an amazing concept. It's our ability to go inside, kind of go beyond the surface, beyond in the cube, beyond those barriers, and going inside to who we are. So that's kind of what intimacy is all about. Is our ability, the 7 times 7 is that we're developing a sensitivity, and we're unpeeling and becoming vulnerable and just going deeper into our sense of 7, which is inside. 7, according to Kabbalah, is the deepest expression of who we are. So that it makes sense that Shabbat is 7, Shemitah is 7, and the Sheva Brachot as a bride, the blessings that we say in 7. King David is also all about 7. He was the 7th son. He lived 70 years. He died on Shabbat, which is the 7th day. He also on Shavuot, his day of passing, which why we say Tehillim in the Psalms, because it's all about celebrating the 7. 7 is all about connecting to that beneath the surface and going inside. It's not ignoring the surface. Like King David took all of his pain and his struggles with his children, and with, like, you know, he had a lot of hard stuff in his life. It's not ignoring the surface, but it's going to the deeper, accessing that deeper point of me, which is that divine core essence of God in me. Isn't that amazing?
So amazing. There's another 7 that is very significant here, talking about brides and grooms and marriages and all of that. I mean, there's a custom out there to wait, to separate Chatan and Kala, bride and groom, before their wedding, to not see each other for a week before the wedding. Not everyone does this. I did it. It was extremely hard. We even had my henna party was the night before my wedding, and my Chatan didn't come. I mean, his whole family was there, and I was like, I don't even know all these people. Like, it was so new to me. But we had that separation. And then we had but the separation for those 7 days brought about a lot of anticipation and excitement and this counting up towards something. and then there was the reunion at the wedding. And even in married life, I mean, we have this cycle monthly. We have this every time we go to the mikvah. There's the separation, there's the counting, the anticipation, this whole beautiful process, which it has a lot of introspection, right? And then the coming back together. And it's like this flow is very, very powerful for ourselves, for our relationship.
Exactly. Beautiful. You know, like in Kabbalah also, it's actually mentioned this concept that you talked about. And again, these are parallel ideas that I experience on the personal level, and we experience it on the cosmic national level, because these are parallel experiences, right? So as a bride, we count those 7 days, and those of us here maybe remember those days. And according to Kabbalah, these are days, it's actually a 3-pronged process, a 3-level process called submission, separation, and reunion and sweetening. Okay, it's these are Kabbalistic ideas. I'm not going to go so into it, but just the idea of like, and I think these are tools for all spiritual intimacy and building relationship, which is like a part. Submission is like a place of us where we've kind of messed up, where we failed, or connected to our darker sides, which happens to all of us, right? The submission into that place of tum'ah, which we've experienced in Egypt on the cosmic level, or we experience as women this kind of like loss of life, or kind of like connecting to that loss of life force and all that. We're not going to get into all those ideas, but that's that spiritual concept that we experience also cosmically, feeling detached from God. It gives us like this sense of humility. And then moving into that separation stage that you talked about, and that brings us anticipation on one hand, building towards something. But every day that we're counting, we're also making the day count. We're also doing this spiritual growth, meaning the fact that I've separated from you and from my husband, or cosmically from God, that we've had this separation time, it gives us a chance to now see the other. Like, where do I start and you begin? You know, where does my boundaries of self? Because a lot of times in marriage, we become so enmeshed and so like mushed into each other. Did you feel that way when you were like in the possibility of just like kind of losing your sense of self, which is an amazing, beautiful
kind of like quarantine. There's so much together time.
Exactly.
Little me time is okay.
Exactly. It's like no time alone, that you don't have time to think. You don't have time to like kind of establish your sense of self as an individual.
You know, Elisheva, this is the story of creation with Adam, how he was originally created as a he, an androgynous, is that the word? How do you say it? Androgynous being. And he asked God, separate me, give me an Ezer Kenegdo, give me a helper to a helpmate. How do you say Ezer Kenegdo? A helpmate to oppose me.
Exactly.
Right? Like that he wanted to have a relationship, and he was too enmeshed in that, that one being, right?
Exactly. The sense of the other that's separate from me, in a sense, is like a paradox, but only through that separateness can I actually create that unity that we all desperately want, that like close intimacy. We so desperately want it. But we see when we have so much intimacy, we like go crazy. This is what we quarantine. That sense of being so together. So there's this constant cycle of separation and of reuniting, and kind of, but Kabbalah talks about submission before, this idea of kind of having humility, understanding that I'm not perfect, understanding that I have my faults. And it's key in all intimate relationships, often with our children, is that idea of like understanding you're a part of me, but you're also separate from me. And I can't control you. And even though I want to, but I cannot control you. Control and intimacy don't go together, right? It just cannot be in the same place. So also judging in intimacy, we can't judge it. We can't, when we're so together with each other, we just lose our sense of what's going on. So we have this separation where it gives us a sense of individuality, a sense of also working on who I am. We have all the 7 character traits of the seven like rungs of the ladder that we've been climbing. 7 weeks, and every day has those 7 character traits within those 7 weeks, so that I can be a vessel to hold what it is that you want to give me. Meaning every intimate relationship is about giving and receiving. And the ultimate intimate relationship is when there's a balance between the giver and the receiver. When I want to give and you want to receive, that's the most, my inner will is connected with your inner will. That's the most ultimate, beautiful form of intimacy. What happens, unfortunately, is that sometimes it's like, I want to give, but you don't want to receive. Usually we see that with our kids. I'm like, take this food, take this, and they're like, what? Leave me alone, right? Or with our soulmates, in our marriages, right? We want to give and the other person doesn't receive. Or we don't want to give and the other person wants to receive all the time, right? That's that imbalance. Or the other person wants to give and we don't want to receive. Or we want to receive and the other person doesn't want to give. It's like those cycles of intimacy we're always interplaying with that. And in Kabbalah, it talks about this idea of like full intimacy is when my inner will is connecting with yours. So that's what Matan Torah, receiving of the Torah, is about. That God, as a chatan, as a groom, is, according to Kabbalah, the idea of giving, which is like an up-down kind of like mashpia, is being able to bring down this flow of light and goodness and inner will, which is the Torah, which is the life direction, and us as the bride, kala, from the bride, milashon lahachil, a kli, which is a vessel. A bride comes from the word vessel. I got to empty my vessel from my ego, from my stuff, from my schmutz, all these layers, right? We talk about this a lot in the mikvah, is unraveling those layers so that I can now receive what it is that you want to give. And that's the most beautiful, exquisite gift you can give to someone, is to really receive fully what it is they want to give you. They want to tell you a secret, you want to lean in, you want to be there in a most intimate way, whether it's with our children or with our spouses or with all of humankind, to really receive, permission to receive. So that's what this intimate connection, God is saying, like, okay, you've gotten the Egypt out of you, you've now worked on it for 49 days, and then we take you to the 50th. And we'll talk about that in a second, what the 50th is. Yeah. Did that make sense, by the way?
Oh, yes. It's so beautiful. And Elisheva, we're going to need to like wind down in a few minutes, sure, even though we could talk forever. But I do want you to talk about Shavuot being the deep dive, that 50th. So let's go into that. And then
sure.
Maybe at the ends of just explaining that concept, we could just close our eyes and put our hands on our heart and kind of transform us back to Tzfat through the screen somehow.
I would love that. Awesome. So what's interesting about the 50th, so Shavuot is called in Kabbalah the 50th gate. So if we talked about 7 as like the natural order and world, and then the 7th is going inside, deep inside in that intimate connection of inner will. So what happens in Shavuot, and this is fascinating, is like we do what we can do, and humanly possible is to count 49 days. But if you look in the Torah, it says, Usfartim lachem, mimacharat HaShabbat, tisperu 50 yom. You shall count 50 days. But we don't count 50 days. We only count 49. So what happens is the 50th day, guess what happens? Is that God himself pulls us that leap. It's like a transcendental leap, because we can't go into the 50th gate. The 50th gate is not humanly possible. The 50th gate is divine. It's transcendental. It's only something that God could do. So we do what we can do, and we unstrip and unpeel and unmask and prepare a vessel, and we're open to receive. But the actual Shavuot, what happens at night, that 50th gate is beyond, is like the number 8 that takes us into the beyond, is that mikvah, that deep dive. When we go down, we say, okay, God, I prepared myself. I counted the 7 days. I, as a bride, and on a cosmic level, as the people of Israel, and the individual and the collective, I did what I could do. I worked on myself, whatever I did. I really unpeeled and tried to do this work. But now, when I go into that mikveh, after counting those 7 days, going into the 8th day, going into the 50th gate, it's only about God. It's this divine presence. I'm enveloped in this divine presence, and only God can take me there. And I go into those waters, and I just kind of like melt every part of me and just receive that divine blessing. And that's an incredible, like transcending moment, that 50th gate. And that's what Shavuot is like. And here in Sfat, I live right on top of the Ari's mikvah. So it's like the mikvah night, primarily for men, is that under my house at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, all morning of Shavuot, in about less than 48 hours here. The mikvah under my house, the Ari's mikvah, is going to be like totally bombarded with all these people. I see people coming from all walks of life with long hair, with tattoos, with whatever, with a towel over their shoulder. And they're just coming down to touch on that 50th gate, which is basically, God, I am here. Full intimacy, hineni, take me away, like surrendering into the moment. Because I've done what I can do, but just like melting into the other.
It's actually one of the only mitzvot. Immersing in the mikvah is one of the only things that we do with our entire body, right? We like full immersion is exactly what it is.
Exactly.
You're all in when you go, right? When those men get their towels and on their momentum trips and they're like, all like marching down.
Exactly. And as women, it's our like natural, I'd say like almost like it's our gift, but it's almost like it's like a responsibility, because all of intimacy also comes with a responsibility. Like, can we keep this connection as tight and as close as possible? All of me with all of you. That's what we want. Don't want to hold back anything. Full intimacy. Hashem, na'aseh v'nishma, whatever you say, Hashem, I'm there. It doesn't make sense. I don't like this idea. I'm not so whatever. I'm here. I'm showing up. Also with this relationship in my marriage, I'm not holding back. Full intimacy is fully showing up, not controlling, not judging, not any other klipa, the other parts of me. I am just here to be one with you. Also with our children, right? Just making sure that we don't have anything that blocks us. And I love that idea about intimacy with God, because it makes it so real. I am here and I am this full body immersion of like whatever it is that you want. Right? It's just so empowering. So I'd love to just like invite you all into is this okay? Can we do this online?
Yeah,
like
we could do it. We could do it.
It's like a little weird, but we can try it. Okay, just for a moment in time, the borders of time and space. So imagine that you're in Sfat. This is the music that we use in meditation. It's a friend of mine who's playing this music. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. So put your hands, gently place it on your heart. And those of us who are with us, invite you, as we said, time as an invitation to just kind of go inside. Inhale, the breath of life. Exhale, all those outer layers. Inhale, the power of 7, which is going deeper inside, that inner dimension, that inner point, that chelek eloka mimal, that point inside me that is indestructible, that is the most essential core part of me, connecting inwards. Inhale deeply, and with each breath you take, go a little bit deeper. Inhale. And now I want you to exhale. Exhale something that's an outer shell that's on your heart. Exhale it out. Inhale deeply. The divine light, that flow, that channel that's coming down, cascading down on your head, on your heart, dissolving all those shells, all those outer layers, the klipot, and just going deeper. Here I'm safe in this like deep, deep dive, this deep mikvah. Imagine that I'm surrounded by these waters, and it just softens me. It softens all the outer layers or the hard encrusted parts of my soul. Here's where my soul can shine and can sing its unique song. And take a moment just to listen to that song. Of the soul that's yearning, anticipating, connecting, reconnecting in the most deepest, beautiful, vulnerable way. In the most inner desire of what it is and who it is that I really am. Who am I? The word for who is me, which is also 50. Mem Yud connects us to the 50th gate. Who am I? A piece of the divine. I am here, Hineni. And feeling that place on your heart, hands on your heart, Lev Tahor, Barali Elokim. With the purest of heart, I enter this world like a baby surrounded by those safe and protecting waters that envelop me, that hold me from the inside, embracing me, accepting me for who I am, with my imperfections, with all the parts of me that I need to work on, but I'm a work in progress. I am the process of becoming. I will be. That's another name for God. And when will the redemption come? The redemption will come when I will be. That's the name of God, that God will come down and sweep us off our feet when we understand that I can become. I can receive the gift of life, the gift, the divine gift that God wants to bring down, the gift of the Torah, the gift of my soul, the gift of living in the inner dimension, this power of 7 inside, the gift of time, the gift of revelation that's inside me, the purity of my soul, and just feeling my vessel kind of empty out and feeling so open to receive. Inhale deeply. Now I want you to let out a little bit of a sigh. We say that like a krechs, and when we exhale, go ah. Open your mouth and just let it out. Whatever it is, that pain or that stress that's inside all of us right now, just let it out and create space. Because intimacy and vulnerability is all about creating space for the other. Inhale and let it out. Ah, beautiful. Imagining that space in my heart, like a vessel that's widening, it's opening and opening and opening. I am here to receive. Na'aseh v'nishma. I will do. I will hear. I am hineni. I am fully present. All parts of me. I trust you, God. Whatever it is that you want to tell me, that you want to share with me, your deepest secrets, I want to receive it. Even though I don't understand, I want to hold it for you. And I know that you hold it for me. And I want to reach out to you, God, and I want to create that space. And I want you now to take your hands from your heart, and I want you to now slowly stretch outwards, stretching, connecting heaven and earth upwards, stretching to all it is that I can become in these amazing days. The invitation, the call, the beckoning to who it is that I can become. I want to receive it, God. I want to be here for you, for my family, and most importantly, for myself. Bring that down. Stretching upwards, we connected heaven and earth, and we want to bring it down to who I am. Because most importantly is to love myself. How can I love God? How can I love the other? How can I love my husband? How can I love my children if I haven't fully accepted who I am? So give yourself a really big hug. You deserve it. You're working so hard. It's been so many weeks. Give yourself a hug and just melt into that place of love, of self-love and self-care that we all so desperately want and need. And from this place of love and acceptance and embrace of who I am, because I'm a piece of the divine, I'm a soul. I am in the process of becoming. So from this place of a self-acceptance and vulnerability and love, I'm creating the space for intimacy, and I'm putting my hand in my heart and feeling that anticipation. My heart's beating with such anticipation of what this new relationship will look like. Because the intimacy of yesterday is not the same as the intimacy of today. What worked in my marriage yesterday is not going to work today. It's a new day. It's a new world. It's a new moment. And tapping into that anticipation of walking into the 50th gate, where I'm going beyond anything I ever knew in this entire world, to experience the greatest love imaginable. Inhale and exhale. And shake it out a little bit.
Wow, Elisheva, that was so beautiful and so amazing. What a gift. What a gift.
I was just like flowing. I wanted to do it for like a minute, and it just was like a river that was like flowing from like out of nowhere. So I don't know where that came from.
When you're in spot in your mikvah, right? You always have your ladies that are like, Elisheva, you have 2 minutes. You have to do it really fast.
It's like, oh, stop, go. But there's something about like that connection that takes you beyond time. Like we're talking about time and how that anchors us, but there's something about going beyond the time, which is exactly what we're talking about, to experience that intimacy. Like not to be all, what time is it? Gotta go. Like,
right. No, it's like, letting go. Wow.
Like beyond, exactly. Yes. Beyond time. And that's why Shavuot is like, we stay up all night and we learn all night and we do all these amazing things because it's beyond time. The 50th gate takes us beyond. Wow. You know, just going beyond what we could experience.
That was amazing. There's a lot of food for thought here, a lot of spiritual ideas. I promised also some practical tips. So I think I'm just going to end just with a little bit, because really, you know, first of all, you've just taken us through a journey, our own like inner journey over here. We've really, really went deep. But for the past 7 weeks, we've been traveling this inner journey, this counting, this transformative experience of time. And here we are. And, you know, interesting, like we're all rushing in a way to get back to normal from the situation in the world. I heard a
whatever
great
that
quote.
Means.
I know, because I don't think it'll be normal anymore. I mean, I think it's extraordinary at this point. I think things have shifted. There's no more normal. But I heard a great quote from this guy, Dave Hollis. He says, in the rush to return to normal, use this time to consider which part of normal are worth rushing back to, which is so important. And right now, you know, going into the spiritual realms and tapping into the Jewish time of year, the holiness, the depth in this time period, it kind of takes us a little further. It's hard to just go back to the mundane after you know, going so deep.
Exactly.
I do want to give just a little bit of practical tips before we go, because we've been going for over an hour. We still have people with us, so I'm pretty impressed. The survivors. But
we're in intimacy also. It's just so important to understand this concept. I found it very empowering for myself. Like what worked before quarantine, what worked yesterday doesn't work today. What worked in my marriage last week or worked like 10 years ago or 25 years ago, or even it's not the same as what's going to work right now. It's tapping into the power of now and renewing it. Like you said, renewing the vows right now. I need to look at my husband and see like what is going on right now. Look at my children right now. I'm not going back to normal. I'm going to right now, that power of intimacy to tap into what's happening at this moment and not holding on to the past. And then I'm like, but I'm not where I was 20 years ago. I was like much thinner then. I was much more beautiful. I had less gray hair. I'm like, why are you like this? Because it used to be like that, right? It's like all about now.
Right. Which is what we said when we were in the moment at Mount Sinai. You know, the Jewish people collectively were like, Na'aseh v'nishma, like we will do it and we'll hear about it. We'll learn what it means, what we're committing ourselves to, but we were so in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's we're gonna have to close because
my kids are gonna start walking in here.
Yes, and I need to go finish up upstairs as well. And there's so much. This was fabulous. So awesome. First of all, just thank you, and we'll thank in just a minute. But I just want to talk practically speaking, okay? Because we have all these beautiful customs, and how can we bring those customs? Like, what are the customs? I mean, everyone knows Shavuot to be like the holiday that we eat yummy cheesecake, right? Yes. We like there's good food, and it's a fun holiday, and we stay up late learning, and there's all these beautiful customs. It's an easier holiday than Passover and Sukkot. It's like we just need to be present, as you said. Right? Well, what can we do to bring a little bit of that mysticism, the power of 7 down into the practicality of our holiday? So Elisheva, in our conversation, in talking about this class that we were going to do together, you taught me something new. You taught me about the power of taking the name of Shavuot, right? Which it has 4 different names, actually. Shavuot is just one of them. One of them is Chag HaAsif, which is the reaping holiday. It's the time that we reap the wheat. And you said there's a custom to make a challah, okay? Which is also making challah for holidays, for Shabbat is always very customary, but to shape it in a ladder with 7 rungs, talking about the 7 weeks, how we climbed through this time. So I actually did it. And this is the first time I've ever done it. Here it is. It looks, I showed it to my kids. I was like, guys, what does this look like? And they were like, a Torah? So it kind of grew. It doesn't look so much like a ladder, but there are 7 rungs. And it's a ladder, so cool. And it's so beautiful to learn new customs and to bring that spiritual meaning into the physical. What could be more physical than bread? Exactly. But we're going to eat it, and we're going to think about the meaning, the significance of the power of 7. Another thing that you touched upon was David HaMelech, and there's a custom that we read Tehillim, Psalms, on Shavuot, and it's his Yurtzeit. It's the day of his passing. It's also the day of his birth. They think, right? So it's a significant day, and we're celebrating his life. So it's just bringing, like, instead of just reading words, we're really, I mean, he's such a big power. The power of 7. You said 7 was his life, was his number. 7 was his life. He even married Bat Sheva. That's right. His soulmate was Bat Sheva. Sheva is 7. Right. Exactly. Exactly. His whole life, he was the 7th son. It's like everything about him is 7. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Another custom that is so much fun that we're actually working on, my daughter is creating something so beautiful, like a centerpiece for our table, is decorating your home with flowers. And, there are actually a few reasons why we do this. One of them is because Mount Sinai had flowers, and but more than that, connecting it to what we spoke about. Have you ever been to a wedding without flowers? It's as if we're right. I mean, I remember stressing, what colors should we have, right? It's like we're actually creating, our home will be the wedding hall, right? Exactly. For this reunion, for this chuppah. So it brings like a lot of enthusiasm into our physical decorating. How are we going to set our table? What bread are we going to have on our table? How can we beautify this experience physically? Gorgeous. But there's something so strong and spiritual. In Israel, a lot of us wear white also as a bride, right? So I didn't know that. White clothes, a white head covering, a white. And I even was shopping yesterday, and I saw a lot of the plates, the cutlery was all white, and there's something about this white purity, kind of bridal wedding energy that's out there. So it's something to have in mind when you're planning your table and your look. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting so many new customs from you. This is amazing. So one of the main customs of Shavuot is that we stay up learning Torah. We learn Jewish concepts, conversation. We really delve into the beautiful wisdom of our heritage on Shavuot. Some people stay up the whole night. And if you think about it, just comparing it a little bit to a bride and groom, I remember personally when we got married in Israel, and after our wedding, we went to the Western Wall. We have pictures by the wall. Chatan and Kala in our white dress, and it was 2:30 in the morning. It was so precious because who's there at the Western Wall at 2:30 in the morning? the most precious souls that were asking us for blessings, you know, one that needed this and one that needed that, and the most broken of hearts, which are the most beautiful of hearts, and being there and giving blessings till late at night, till 3 a.m. Time was like, you know, it wasn't even an issue. It was like we had all energy to stay up all night, right? And then you go, you know, then there's all the togetherness. Who's going to sleep, right? So beautiful. And that's what we're doing on Shavuot when we're sitting and opening our Jewish wisdom and delving in. We're learning something new. We're so excited. And that's what we're doing on the night of our wedding. There's so much to learn about this person that I'm in a relationship with. It's the same with our Creator. So it's taking all the physical, beautiful customs and just connecting it, because there are so many deep levels here. And we could take this physical experience of Shavuot, but we could really, really make it transformative. As you said in the beginning, it's like this spiral that's going upwards, and we're connecting and going higher and higher. And when we come out, we're like, who are we? Where did we just come from? When we come out of this quarantine time, we're going to be so elevated because we've had our Pesach, we've had our Sfirat HaOmer, we've had our Shavuot. We're not where we were when we went into this quarantine. So time is time, but time is time. And time is amazing. And I just want to close with a huge shout out to Mikveh USA, which is an organization that Elisheva and I are both connected to, and it's dear to our hearts. It's a great organization that gives inspiration, guest speakers, support for any mikveh related issues, problems, strengthening that a community would need. They will send speakers all over Canada and the USA. And really, really very much for the sake of heaven. People that really believe in the power of some of the concepts that we spoke about tonight, the holiness, the purity in it. So I just want to give a huge thank you to Mikveh USA.
Are alive, even though like it's a whole other topic, we're not getting into it, but contrary to what a lot of people feel, know, mikvahs are alive and well. And that people are going to the mikvah under the high standards of the CDC and very high health requirements. It's all like very, very carefully monitored. But there are, you know, I personally have been going. I assume you also have. And it's a place where, you know, there are ways to make it happen in a very safe way. Just to put a shout out, if people are, you know, in that space.
And if anyone is worried, you could reach out to us and we could guide you through it, because we're doing it at a very high standard and there's nothing to worry about, because we have professionals and doctors and rabbis, and we have a whole team of people that are working so hard to enable women to continue doing this mitzvah. And, you know, Elisheva, just to end, when everything started shutting down, the synagogues, my husband's synagogue, our beloved community, everything closed their doors. The one thing that was so clear to me was the 3 mitzvot of the women are going stronger than ever. The mikvahs are open just for the women. The men are not going so much during this time. Many men's mikvahs are closed for now, but the women's mikvahs are still going. Shabbat is still happening. The Jewish home is thriving because we're doing it. We're bringing the education and we're not relying on the teachers anymore. We're making it happen. Challah, candle lighting. Dozens and dozens of women have reached out to me. Women that usually don't keep Shabbat. They're telling me, they're texting me, they're showing me pictures of their chalot. They're telling me, Eve, we have never leaned on Shabbat as much as we're doing it now. I'm lighting the candles on time because there's nowhere to go. There's no soccer practices to run to. There's no music lessons. We're in. It's as if God has turned the whole world over and really just brought us home.
God has turned the whole world into the 7, into that inner dimension. Like that's why everyone's touching on that power of, I want to go inside. I want to touch something that feels so real to me, because the whole world is falling apart around me. So let me just touch on what's going to hold me from the inside. And that's beautiful. That 7. That's Shabbat, and that's Shavuot. That's exactly where we're going. It's beautiful. Gorgeous. Okay. I love that.
We're gonna have to say goodbye, but Elisheva, if anyone wants to find Elisheva, where's a good place to find you?
That's a really good question.
Wherever the wind blows you, right? You just kind of.
If I knew that the answer to that question, I would be in a good place. Where do I find me? You can find me at elisheva@womenofthewaters.org. Email, we have a website, womenofthewaters.org. You can find me, just like take a deep breath.
Elisheva, I really suggest to so many women that they should sign up for your beautiful newsletter that comes out every Rosh Chodesh. It's tremendous. So that's another beautiful way to.
Does anyone want to ask something? Does anyone want to say something or ask something while we're about to end? Can we do that?
We could do that.
Jillian wanted to say something?
I just want to say thank you. It was amazing to be here. And I was at the mikveh in 2017, and it was, I think, I've been once before here in Melbourne, and I cried the whole time while I was there. I was beside myself, and I subscribed to your newsletter, and that's where I saw this. So thank you so much, and it's wonderful, and I was emotional here today. And my daughter's sitting here with me, and she's like rolling her eyes, but she's taken up.
She's doing just what she needs to do. Exactly. Sounds like a good daughter.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you for being the first one on the call when I thought like maybe no one's going to show up. There was Jillian.
Thank you, Jillian. That's so sweet.
Thank you.
So good to see you again.
And I think I'm going to end this, Elisheva.
Blessings
I think
from Spots. Yes.
Thank you. To be continued. Chag Sameach.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Eve, for organizing this. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Thank you, Eve's husband, the man behind the woman. Yeah, right. Thank you so much. Chag Sameach from Tzfat. Blessings to all of you. Come visit us soon. Looking forward to giving you that real hug. Looking forward to all of you coming back to the Holy Land, coming back to Tzfat, and be able to hug you. Like finally being able to connect. Please God. May it be so soon.
Thank you. Amen. Right. Be well, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.